Kia ora, I'm Bruce Munro, and with me is International Relations Specialist Professor Robert Patman, and this is Global Insight. Last week, Andrew Little, the Minister responsible for New Zealand's spy agencies, gave an important national security speech, but it was given little attention. Welcome, Robert.
Morena, Bruce.
What was it that Andrew Little actually said?
Basically, as the Minister responsible for New Zealand SIS and also oversight of GCSB, it was an important speech. I think it was much more candid about the work that these agencies do, and he spelt out a couple of things which I think is very useful for us in New Zealand to hear. Firstly, national security, which these agencies are charged with helping to support and protect. National security is about protecting and defending key values for all New Zealanders. What are those values? Well, commitment to universal human rights, democracy, the rule of law. And he also pointed out in the speech that these values are under assault and threat in a very real fashion, both domestically and internationally. And that's what the agencies which he has oversight for are engaged in. So he made it quite clear that while terrorism, particularly after the events of Christchurch and the attack in New Lynn, so these two very traumatic attacks in the last 2 years, has conveyed to New Zealanders that we're not immune from this trend of transnational terrorism. But at the same time, while he fully recognised the importance of this threat, he pointed out a number of other threats to these values that New Zealanders are committed to, and threats such as foreign espionage, threats such as foreign interference. These are the sort of things that he mentioned in his speech. So I think it was we probably heard more from the Minister with responsibility for these spy agencies than we've ever had before.
What is the significance of that speech?
I think the speech was significant in two respects, Bruce. Firstly, he pointed out that one of the key findings of the Royal Commission into the Royal Commission, which looked into the terrorist atrocity which killed 51 people in Christchurch in March 2019, one of its key findings was the view that social cohesion was a key counterweight to the threat of terrorism. And he pointed out that this was something the government was taking very seriously. Social cohesion and national security could not be divorced. And he said this was quite a novel position internationally, and this commitment to social cohesion and inclusion would be part and parcel of New Zealand's national security approach, nationally and internationally. I think that was an interesting thing. It's quite novel and distinctive, and will certainly inform our foreign policy. The second thing, which I also found very interesting, is that Mr. Little was calling for what he called a mature debate about national security in light of the role it has in defending some of the key values that New Zealanders are committed to. And what did he mean by a mature debate? He fully acknowledged that he was overseeing agencies which by definition act discreetly and often secretly. But he said that much of the debate about national security had been what he saw as immature and rather too rhetorical. And what I found particularly interesting as an academic is that he said he now looked to opinion writers and the academic community to have a much greater input into some of the debates that are going on. Now, the reason my ears pricked up on this, quite apart from the fact I'm an academic, is that we've been quite a long way behind other countries in not recognising the interaction between the world of learning and what I call the world of practice, the policy practitioners. And so it's good that these barriers are beginning to break down. We're quite a long way behind Europe and North America in that regard. For example, you notice with any incoming administration, there will be people, scientists and other people from the world of learning, which will be part and parcel of any administration. So I think given the complexity of the threats we now face, I think this is a welcome development, and I think it could open up the space around national security.
It was announced this week that Nanaia Mahuta is going to be going on her first major international trip as Foreign Minister. What does Little's speech tell us about the aims of Mahuta's trip?
I think it sheds considerable light, because the immediate reaction by the media to Nanaia Mahuta's speech is that, well, this is very ambitious. She's going to 6 countries, in fact 7 if you include a stopover with the Singaporean Foreign Minister. It starts off with Australia, a traditional close friend, and it culminates in North America, where Nanaia Mahuta will speak to her counterpart, the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, and also her Canadian counterpart, Foreign Minister there. And in between, she will be spending quite a bit of time. She'll be going to Indonesia and then on to the Middle East, where she will go to the United Arab Emirates, and that will include a presentation at the New Zealand Expo. A New Zealand presence at the World Expo, and also a visit to Qatar, where she will thank the officials in Qatar for their support in the evacuation from Afghanistan in late September. Now, how does Little's speech throw light into this? First of all, we make no apologies for the fact, I think, as a government, we do not believe, or as I say, a government, the government itself takes the position that AUKUS is not necessarily the answer to the problem of growing Chinese assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific. And what I found instructive about the itinerary that the Foreign Minister's got in this visit is that it strikes a balance between seeing old friends, Australia, and also the United States and Canada, fellow members of the Five Eyes, but also goes to a country, Indonesia, which has been very critical of Australia's decision to power its nuclear submarines. Have nuclear power submarines by 2040. And in addition, while in Indonesia, and this is quite separate to meeting the Indonesian Foreign Minister, Nanaia Mahuta will meet with the Secretary General of ASEAN. This is very important because ASEAN is a multilateral organisation, and all its members, except one, have signed a treaty which New Zealand played a key role in championing, which is the Treaty to Prohibit Nuclear Weapons, which was signed in January 2017, and now more than 80 countries have ratified it. So, in a sense, this is, if you like, conveying the message, I think, that Mr. Little spelled out, that while we have old friends and very good relationships with them, we are not necessarily an echo of them on security matters. And we do actually believe that the non-nuclear security approach is particularly important in a region like the Indo-Pacific. So I think there is some linkage there between Little's speech last week and the itinerary that the Foreign Minister is taking during this trip.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you for watching. Catch us next time on Global Insight. Ka kite anō.